Valentine's Day is almost here, so let's make a Valentine's Day card. This is the card I will be making using a digital stamp from Gerda Steiner Designs. And I did a simple coloring using the Zig brush markers. This is the digital stamp I'm going to be using, and I thought they don't have it anymore, but luckily I was able to find it. The link to it is in the description below. And at the moment, the download is still free. If you are new to digital stamps, next week I'm going to make a detailed video about digital stamps, how to download them, print them, and other details, so make sure you come back. This video is only about the coloring and making the card. First, I printed out the stamp. I like to print on a cardstock in the size of my card, and I printed 2 images at once. Before printing, I removed the greeting that is part of the digital stamp, as I knew I will be fussy cutting anyway. I printed 2 of the images, one to test the colors, and then the other one to color for this video. For the coloring, as I said, I will be using the Zig brush markers or Zig clean brush markers. I'm not sure what is the exact name for these. I like to use them for simple, quick coloring, and that's what I did here. I will leave the name of the colors I used in the description below, as well as over on my blog. I have a corresponding blog post for every video I make, and often I included the product list as well. But you can use other watercolor markers as well, that is completely up to you. Just use whatever you already have or is in your budget. I started with a dark gray, actually this is a blue gray, and I applied it on the outside edges and around the cap. And then I used a light gray and blended the colors together. I don't really care about correct shading, all I want to do is create depth. The cardstock I'm using here is the bristle cardstock from Canson. I like to use it with these markers, but only when I'm using them as alcohol markers, with hardly any water. Here I was using the water brush pen as I would use a clean marker just to blend the colors together. You can use these markers as watercolors. Many people like to use the Bristol cardstock as well, but when I use them with water, I like to use an actual watercolor cardstock. I finished up the coloring of the body of the mouse, and before I started coloring the mug, I dried the image with my heat tool. I didn't want to contaminate the colors, which is more likely when they are wet. I colored the mug. I decided to use green. You can use whatever colors you want, that is completely up to you. Next, I colored the coffee using a brown marker, and then I colored the heart using a red. I forgot to color the tail of the mouse, so I fixed that, and then I colored the feet. Lastly, I added a little bit of pink onto the ears and cheeks, and then I blended them using the water brush pen. I decided to fussy cut the mouse, so I took my scissors and cut out the image. For the background, I wanted to do something fun, and I was playing with a few ideas like ink smooshing or some crazy watercolor background. But then I remembered I had this background that I made for my Christmas cards, which I messed up. The idea was to create a background filled with Christmas ornaments. I created it using a distress ink, festive berries, and a circle stencil that I created using a circle die and a cardstock. And I blended the ink, creating the circles across the whole panel. But on my first try, I placed the circles in a weird way and had to redo it. This is how it was actually supposed to look like, with circles more spaced out so I can add the tops for the ornaments. However, instead of throwing it away, I added a few more lighter circles and kept the background for another project. And the project is the card for this video, and I think it fits. I first die cut the panel using a stitched rectangular die, and then I adhered it onto a card base that I made out of a grey cardstock. I think the grey goes really good with the color of the mouse. I used a double-sided foam tape for the mouse and the greeting. I have a bunch of greetings that I pre-made and fussy cut, and here I used the sentiment that says hugs and kisses, which I hid embossed in white on a black cardstock. The background panel I adhered using a liquid glue. This is actually a wood glue. I like to use it when adhering a panel onto a card base. So far I didn't have any problems with it. I placed it onto the card base and then I placed an acrylic block on top of it to press it down. After the glue was dry, I attached the mouse and the greeting. Here is the finished card. I think it looks really cute. If you would like to get this image, make sure you go and download it. The link is in the description. Make sure you check out my playlist with other card ideas for Valentine's Day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.